Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron is right here, everyone. Welcome back for more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. Just got a short one for you guys right now. I saw that Jeffrey Augustine on the Scientology Money Project blog had posted about the possibility, the likelihood of Hubbard Way closing down for good. I think this is worthy of some public discussion. And I wanted to share this with you. Let me put my stuff on Do Not Disturb. This is pretty remarkable. The possibility of this, even considering the possibility of this, is remarkable. Let's take a look at what Jeffrey reported here, and then let's use that as a jumping off point for some further discussion. Okay, Hubbard Way. Hubbard Way road closure now reported by Microsoft in Los Angeles traffic reports online. We predict the cult moves for a permanent closure of the street. Okay, so I guess this is a Microsoft Maps. This is like real-time traffic information from Microsoft. Road closed. Hubbard Way is closed from West Sunset Boulevard to Fountain Avenue. Estimated end? Unknown. Look at that. Start date, May 30th. That is about over 5 weeks ago. We're going to get into what, there's actually more to the blog post than this, but I wanted to point out. I'm trying to remember when exactly North Berendo Way. I forget what Hubbard Way used to be called. It was like North Berendo Way. I forget when exactly it became Hubbard Way, but I feel like it was in the late 90s, early 2000s. If anyone in the live chat happens to remember, please let me know, and I'll keep an eye out for it. But let's just say in the 30 plus years that Scientology has had Hubbard Way. And I say has had Hubbard Way only because the fact that it's called that at least creates the impression in many people's minds that there's some sort of ownership that Scientology has of this street. Please make no mistake. Hubbard Way is a public street. It is public property. It is in no way private. Okay. But in the 30 plus years that it has been Hubbard Way, you could count on one finger how many times Scientology has closed down the street, has pulled an event permit to close down the street. Okay, maybe not one finger, maybe one hand. It's just not something that's ever necessary. Scientology doesn't hold events on the street. One of the reasons being is Scientology is not interested in attracting non-Scientologists anywhere near its facilities. And there is no reason to close down Hubbard Way in order to hold a Scientology event. In the past, if Scientology actually wanted to hold an event, they would do it in the north parking lot, which if you look on a map is the northeast corner of Hubbard Way and Sunset Boulevard. It's a massive parking lot. You can set up a massive tent there. There's just no reason to apply for permits. Permits happen to be pretty expensive. For all of the money that Scientology has in the bank, you would be shocked at how stingy they are in spending that money, even on internal matters. So I'll give you an example. When I was working in the Sea Org on Hubbard Way, in order to put on one of the 5 or 6 major annual international Scientology events, the organizations on Hubbard Way would have to shell out close to $200,000 in order to put on that event. Now, some of those expenses involved like renting the giant tent, for example. A lot of those expenses were actually expenses that management required us to pay them for putting on the event. The organizations actually had to shell out from their weekly income the money to put on the event. Now, you would think that if these events had a big return on investment, that international management itself would cover the cost of the event because the money generated from putting on the event would be much more than what it costs to put on the event. Otherwise, why bother putting on the event? But the exact opposite was true. Management would pay nothing. The weeks, the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks leading up to an event, the staff would not even be paid. because using the weekly income that the organizations made to pay for the cost of putting on the event took higher priority than actually paying the staff who are working 120 hours a week, hoping to get $50 at the end of the week. Okay, my point here is Scientology doesn't close down these roads. They don't have a reason to close down these roads. Now, all of a sudden, they are coming up with all sorts of excuses to put on public events for the public, allegedly, not for Scientologists. Public events, whether it's July 4th, whether it's Cinco de Mayo, whether it's honoring veterans, whether it's the Children's Festival. And all of a sudden, they're keeping L. Ron Hubbard Way closed down permanently. It is so obviously and transparently a ruse to prevent protesters from protesting. I just wanted to give a little bit of perspective from someone who was working there. This is unprecedented. This is Scientology showing their desperation. This is them doing anything and everything in their power to prevent protesters from protesting. Okay, let's see what Jeff has to say about this. The screenshot above, which was posted on Microsoft's local reporting today, July 7th, okay, so this was a couple days ago, shows L. Ron Hubbard Way was closed on May 30th for an indefinite period of time. We are researching this and asking our readers to join in this open source research project to determine what the cult may or may not be up to. There could be a document quietly filed with the LA Department of Transportation. Microsoft appears to have reporting data of which the public is not cognizant. That's interesting, right? Because if Microsoft was just pulling their information about road closures from publicly available permit information, then the end date would not be undetermined. The end date would be whatever the permit said the end date was. So that is interesting. Jeff says, we live near L. Ron Hubbard Way and we use the street regularly, as do many locals, as a way to avoid the heavy traffic on Vermont. However, LRH Way has been closed now for over a month, and this forces traffic onto Edgemont and other north-south streets. The cult of Scientology has become so flagrant in closing LRH Way and keeping it closed that Microsoft now routinely reports this street closure in its local traffic updates and weather updates. Below, we see the morning's notifications of the street closure along with the weather. Okay, super interesting. Our prediction is that the Scientology cult will soon move for a permanent closure of L. Ron Hubbard Way as a means to shut down protests. The local East Hollywood politics likely favor Scientology in this regard, as the cult takes care of the right people. However, the public hearings would become a pitched battle in which LAPD would become part of the equation. Scientology could use LAPD to testify that the protests have created a drain on police resources. If this happens, an analysis of how many dozens or hundreds of calls to LAPD were made by Scientology would be required. The argument here is that Scientology is creating the drain on police resources by making unnecessary calls. I think this is a fascinating point. Scientology specializes in always portraying themselves as the victims. There's always some massive grand conspiracy. The story that they'll tell to people outside of Scientology is different than the story they'll tell to people inside of Scientology. Inside Scientology, the conspiracy is spearheaded and funded by Big Psych, Big Pharma, the American Medical Association, the American Psychiatric Association, and of course, the alien psychiatric overlords of the Between Lives implant station on the far side of the moon. But let's not get too far into the weeds. Let's not get too far into the weeds now. To the public officials, they probably wouldn't mention the alien overlord captors on the far side of the moon. They would probably just talk about the evil SPs that are active on YouTube and elsewhere, trying to upset Scientology and harass Scientologists. And this must be put to an end. Now, Jeff makes a great point. It is Scientology who has made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of phone calls to the police, basically complaining about protesters exercising their constitutionally protected activity. But as I'm going to show you some other evidence for after I finish reading this blog post, the LAPD is most certainly in cahoots with Scientology as far as their pure hatred of the anti-Scientology protesters and their wishes and their willingness to do pretty much anything to make these protesters go away, to make it uncomfortable, whatever. So when the time comes, if there were public hearings to permanently close L. Ron Hubbard Way, I think you can bet that the LAPD would be right up there providing as much evidence and testimony as to why the street should be closed. But that remains to be seen. Okay, let's see here. Non-Scientology residents would, of course, still have access to LRH Way, which this means Scientology would predictably purchase whatever properties it does not presently own on LRH Way. If this requires paying prices far in excess of market value, as Scientologists have done in Clearwater, then money is no object. Our prediction, in part, is based upon Scientology's attempts to get temporary restraining orders against live streamers and the swatting that Scientology's agents, the most likely suspects, have engaged in. Scientology will cite a need for parishioner safety and the continued activities of protesters whom it will deem to be terrorist in nature. That is true. Scientology loves characterizing anti-Scientology protesters as some sort of coordinated terrorist group, as they did with Anonymous back in the 2008 period. Okay, another part of the possible evidence, as mentioned, is the notice of an indefinite closure in Microsoft's new local news feed. Any possible permanent closure of LRH Way would have to exclude the first approximately 100 feet on the Sunset side of the road where the driveways to the PAC base and Kaiser Permanente exist. We have marked the excluded area in green. Yeah, okay, so hypothetically, if LRH Way were to be permanently closed, this north maybe quarter to third of LRH Way would still be open to the public. You can see that's where the entrances to those parking lots are. Yeah, and I guess the Scientology parking lot can be accessed from the west side on Vermont, as can the Kaiser Permanente parking lot be accessed from the east. So I wonder how that would actually go down. Okay, that is the end of the blog post. Now let me show you. Now, at any time, let me make sure this doesn't automatically trigger my microphone to change. Hold on. Yeah, it looks like we're good. Anytime the police show up and the officers that show up happen to do the right thing or happen to be polite, or it's easy for me anyway to get very optimistic that maybe the tide is turning. Maybe the LAPD is getting so pissed off at Scientology wasting their resources that maybe the tide is turning a little bit. And maybe the LAPD isn't quite as cozy with Scientology as perhaps they've been in the past. I feel like anytime I start to have a little bit of that optimism, I am made a fool of. Oh my goodness. The fact is, we see time and time again that the LAPD will over and over and over again overstep their bounds with protesters, break the law, and seem to think that they can get away with it. That happened again this week when one of the protesters was arrested in a subway. The protester was actually Solomon, who's underage. He's 17 years old. And I don't even think he was arrested in the process of protesting Scientology. I think he might have just been cop watching. But he was being arrested for some reason that's not even clear to me in the subway, the metro station. And Danny went to the scene to live stream what was happening, as did Confident Chris. Now, the police officers told Danny that, well, let me just play some of the videos for you. These videos that I'm going to share with you, I'm sharing with you from Streets LA's Twitter. It's the easiest place for me to find these videos. Okay, so Streets says, cop arrests man after saying he's going to report the cop to internal affairs. And this is the first one I'm going to show you. And I hope you guys can hear this all right. Let's go full screen and let's listen to this.
Yeah, he's still handcuffed.
Okay, so you have Solomon there. You have Danny very politely, very non-threateningly, politely meaning keeping his distance. He's not shouting at the cops. He's in no way interfering, as you can see, right? Check this out.
I'ma love making a report on him, on that one right there. Internal affairs. The one right there.
Uh-oh, look at him. He's looking at him. By the way, one of the videos I wasn't able to easily find and show you guys is that officer was illegally, in my opinion, telling Danny down in the metro station. He basically made him stand like 30 or 40 feet back and said, if you come any closer than this, you're going to be arrested for impeding my investigation. When, you know, it's completely over the line. And that was the officer that he was having that conversation with. So now all he's saying is, I'm going to enjoy filing a report on that officer. And that look at him. Look at him as soon as he hears that.
I know, I'm in love making a report on him.
What kind of report are you going to do, sir?
Don't worry.
You are interference, sir?
I am not.
You're detained, sir. For what? You're wrong, sir. You're detained. Ma'am, you follow us. I will told you, gentlemen, if you follow us, I'm also going to put half penalty and I'm going to arrest you.
Okay, so the ma'am that he's talking to is Danny's wife, Leah, who was walking behind Danny. And that is, he's literally saying, if you follow us, I'm going to arrest you as well. Following officers is not impeding an investigation. And I thought it was amazing that the officer said, what kind of report are you going to file? What kind of report are you going to file? And then put him in cuffs. So let's check it out.
Sir, I am not going to report on him.
What kind of report are you going to do?
Oh, someone's saying it wasn't Leah, it was Ashley. Okay.
Don't worry.
You are interference, sir?
I am not.
You're detained, sir. For what? You're wrong, sir. You're detained. Ma'am, you follow us. I will told you, gentlemen, if you follow us, I'm also going to put half penalty and I'm going to arrest you.
It's okay, you're being recorded.
It's absolutely incredible. Now, here's the thing. All of those officers, like I said a moment ago, that I'm pretty sure Solomon wasn't protesting Scientology per se. That's my understanding, at least. And yet all of those officers know exactly who these protesters are. These are the same officers that show up time and time again. These people know who the streamers are. They know the streamers don't break the law. They know that the streamers, this is constitutionally protected activity, and they know they're being live streamed. And they blatantly break the law. I'm calling it breaking law because I think that's what it is. You know, you guys don't have to quote me on that one. Maybe it's not technically breaking the law. Okay, the next clip that I'm going to show is, okay, it's a similar one. Here, let me just share this tab. Okay. Oh, damn, it's pretty much the same video. Okay, he says, telling people that they will be arrested if they follow the cops. That is not against the law to follow the cops. They're following cops who are transporting a 16-year-old upstairs. Following cops who are transporting a 16-year-old upstairs is not interference. Yeah, Solomon is either 16 or 17. Let me look at this specific one. Is it really just...
Ma'am, you follow us. I will told you, gentlemen, if you follow us, I'm also going to put half penalty.
Yeah. That is the same video. However, I am determined, if you guys will just bear with me for a minute here, I am determined to find one of the other videos that he posted. Oh, yeah. Okay, here it is. Hold on. Okay, check this out. Street says right before his arrest, he was told he wasn't allowed to film at the Metro because the Metro is private property. This is an example of what I mean, guys. You think the police don't know that the Metro is public property? And yet they lie about it willingly. Okay, so let's see this clip.
950, say, if you see something, say something.
You guys gotta stop filming. They just said on the loudspeaker. This is private property. You can't be filming in here if they say no.
Yeah, we're just waiting for our friend to get out.
We're good. Just don't be filming. Everything's clear. They're all good. They know what they're doing.
Man, this is the kind of stuff that I did not have awareness of this type of stuff until I started watching Streets as content. See, many people think that if a police officer gives you an order, you have to follow the order. That's actually not true. And you can see one of the things that's become so evident from watching the LAPD's interaction with these protesters is how the officers will give orders to the protesters that are not supported in any way by the law. And the officers know that. The officers know that's not private property, but they're giving an order. Anyway, so because you can see officers continue to behave badly, continue to abuse their authority, overstep and cross the line, I do believe that the LAPD and maybe even city officials would cooperate with Scientology in some sort of coordinated effort to permanently close down Hubbard Way. I'm curious to know what you guys think about this. It also occurred to me, if you go, geez, aren't the police officers kind of annoyed at what a time waste it is for Scientology to make all of these calls? And I don't know what you guys think, but it started to dawn on me that maybe these officers don't actually care about having their time, quote unquote, wasted. Like, what is it to them? Do they really care? They're on the clock no matter what. They're going to be on the clock, either sitting in a squad car waiting around for something to happen, or, you know, when something happens and you have like 30 cops show up and 28 of them are standing around doing nothing. Like, do they really care? Or would they rather be on a call, standing around doing nothing, but being able to say that they're actually doing work because they're on a call? Like, I just started to think about it differently recently. If I were a cop, would I really care about having my time wasted? Or would I be like, well, at least I'm on a call and I'm not sitting around doing nothing and I can sort of justify my existence. Like it's out of their hands, right? Hey, a call came in, we had to show up. And maybe that's why they don't mind showing up every single time. So like, what skin is it off their back, really? If they weren't there doing that, they'd just be somewhere else doing something else. Do they really care? I don't think so. So that's why I think I've probably been pretty naive and optimistic or naive in thinking that the LAPD would ever actually turn on Scientology for the constant abuse of public resources. Do the cops really care? I don't think so. What do you guys think? All right, so that is all on this topic. Let me see. I do not have the lovely Barb in the back office at the moment. But let's see what we have here. Quirkalopagus, audit LA community page about street vacation. Okay, I'll take a look at that. Trisha Briggs says, this is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. They are running scared. Scientology certainly is running scared as far as what to do about the protesters. I mean, this type of response and activity from them is truly unprecedented, but that's just because the protester presence is truly unprecedented as far as having it there every single day, 7 days a week for, I think, what is probably about a year now. I got to double check. I believe Streets started doing the streaming protesting outside of Scientology locations about a year ago. So yeah. Okay. Kimberly in Japan says, you speaks fast, but I can hear every word. Thank you. I do try to enunciate. KC Cat, if anyone has a coordinated effort, it is Scientology. Law enforcement were called on protesters all over the country this past weekend, including Kansas City. Kansas City PD told Scientology to kick rocks. I did notice that. Massive police presence in cities all over the US just in the last few days. It's absolutely crazy. Okay, guys, that is it for now. Much more to come. I got some company in from out of town. That's why I haven't been doing any videos the last few days, but I do have at least one more video that I want to do today. So stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.